Hello, welcome again. We were talking about body control modules. Now, body control module controls also another accessory in your car. Windshield washer pump, headlamp pump, and rear window washer pump, and the wipers. So the body control module, like we said, controls all accessories, making life miserable for us, right? Now, when you look at a schematic, and I took the privilege of highlighting the main, you look for main components, like I stress. Could be 100 things here. We look at the most important ones. What catches your attention? First of all, right here, body control module. See? Body control module. That catches my attention. The pumps, the motors themselves. See? When there's an M, this is the symbol for a pump, a motor. That catches my attention. A switch over here catches my attention. A multifunction switch over here catches my attention. The wiper, the module for it with the pump inside, catches my attention. Okay, this sensor over here, ignition, outside moisture sensor, catches my attention, and the relay catches my attention. So in other words, don't pay attention to the wires. Don't pay attention to the fuses, the grounds, the colors. That's not important right now. When you tackle a big adventure like this, you just look at the main components and then you interconnect them to what it's connected to, then the function of how they connect together, how they work. That's step number one when it comes to a diagram. Okay? Now, you're going to notice a couple of things I highlighted. One pump, windshield for the front. Another pump for the headlamps, believe it or not. Another pump for the rear. Another pump for the wiper for the rear. Another wiper for the front. For the wiper for the front. 5 pumps you have here. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Isn't it? 5 pumps for one vehicle. Amazing. Even for the headlamps, we need a pump. Now, let's break this down. Body control module controls relays. Rule of relays. We need a 12 volts. We need a ground. Now, the computer can give us either 12 volts or the computer can do us a favor by giving a ground. We look at both ends of the relay. We always look at the coil first. Then we look at this. This is activated first. Then we break down the schematic. Okay? Now, let's start with this one over here. This is the module. Let's look at, first we glance what it's connected to. It says windshield wiper motor. Fine, here's a motor. Here's a module inside with signals going in and out. So obviously it's controlling a relay. We see this windshield washer relay control. That means it's controlling the relay for windshield washer fluid. The switches over here, obviously this is the switches that we manually we adjust, we select the speed, the mist, the wiper speed, the mist speed and pulses low and high, and like I said, the wiper speed high, low, intermittent, whatever we want, based on these resistors. I went over that in a different video. Now, all this is in one unit. So if it's faulty, replace everything. Just like the ignition control module, you have a module, an ignition coil, and GMs, you replace the whole thing. Let's start over here. Let's just start over here with this one. Now, I know I need 12 volts for a relay. I know I need a ground. 12 volts is given to me right here, hot at all times. It's given to me through the fuse, through the battery, even though there's no battery drawn here. It's understood. That means the other side, I have to get a ground. What gives me a ground? We go right down here, right here. This module gives me a ground. Relay control line means it gives you a ground. There's nothing else it can mean. Once we get that, he decides that to give you a ground. Guess what? Now we have current flowing through here, through the orange wire, through this. So this is actually a control, like an output to control the relay. Then what happens? This switch is closed, and once it's closed, it's make contact from here to here. Then we have this being turned on. The reason I chose this type of schematic, again, we're always used to Mitchell diagram. We see 86, 85, 30, 87A, 87. There are no pin numbers here. There are no pin numbers on the body control module over here. No pin, only colors of wires. White, gray. You know, if there's 100 wires, you know how many white wires there are? There are no pin numbers here. There are no pin numbers over here. That's why I chose it. This tests your ability as a technician, how you read a diagram. Let's fill in the blanks. 86 would be here, positive. 85 would be here. This, remember this? This with the arrow. This one with the arrow is the one that always toggles, that changes. So instead of being in this position, which is the normal position, when this is activated, the arrow goes here to this position. Which over here gives you that? Look at this and look at that. Which one is 30? 30 is the one that's always connected, isn't it? To 12 volts. Here's 30. 30 is connected to 12 volts. Which is the one that toggles? 87. It's 87. This one is right here. This one is right here. 87 is here. 30 is up here. Confusing, right? That's why I chose this type of diagram. That's why you have to adjust. You really have to know the symbols, how to read them. Very important. So we know how this one works. Great. Now we're going to go through a few more. Now we have something called rear washer relay. Guess what that means? You guessed it, the same thing. For the rear window washer fluid pump, we have 12 volts over here, don't we? What do we need? As soon as you see this, what should pop in your hand? We need a ground. Guess who gives us the ground? You guessed it. The body control module. He gives it. Same concept as this. And the seat, no pins. If you understood that one, you'll understand this one. Let's go for this one also. Headlamp washer pump. Now, there is a switch here that you activate that goes to the body control module. When you activate this switch and you close it in this position, you're telling the body control module, I want the pump for the headlamps. It gets this as an input. This is an input. This reacts. The body control module reacts. And it gives a ground to, see over here, headlamp wash switch, the white wire. It gives a ground to this one. This to me is like an output because it's a control line. So it gets the input from the switch and gives an output to this. Even though current is flowing this way, I showed it going this way. Then it activates this headlamp washer pump. This one over here, same thing, rear window washer. We have a 12 volts, don't we? We have 12 volts it going in here. Rear window relay, we have a ground on this side. Same idea as the other ones. Then this starts. Ground, ground, ground. All these get a ground. This one, same thing over here. This goes to a wiper motor over here, a module over here, and simple circuit over here. This is a circuit breaker. See this circuit breaker symbol? And this is a fuse over here. And then once it starts this gives it a signal to this module, I guess, in here. And then it starts the pump, the wiper motor for the rear. Remember, this SUV has a rear, has a front. That's fine. Now, we said about this is for the front. So windshield washer fluid pump. Isn't this confusing, huh? Very confusing, right? Again, this is the switches, this is the pump. Based on two speeds. For the wiper, you have a speed here, you have a speed here. One is a low speed, one is a high speed. Depending on which one is activated by the switch, which you select over here. See, accessory voltage goes over here. A wiper high signal for the high. This is for low speed. Low speed is here, and the other one is high speed. That means it'll turn at a high speed. The wiper motor. The other one is the low speed. when you choose it at the switches, when you choose it at the switches over here for high or low, you're using actually resistors. I don't want to go because I made a video about this already. The more resistors that you have, the less the voltage. The less resistors that you have, the more the voltage. Anyway, that's how it determines it from this. This is the input to this. Again, then it decides which one. So either this one, there is a coil here closing the switch. There is a coil here closing this switch over here. Again, I don't want to go too technical because you know why? This whole unit is changed anyway as one unit. Doesn't make a difference. That's why it doesn't really make a difference to go piece by piece into it. All you have to know is, based on your selections over here, you're telling the module a selection that you want. It's going to give a control line to the washer, fluid pump, and also the wiper motor over here for the front also, either a high or low. So current flows through here to the pump. It is amazing what goes on with the just to wash your windshield. Look what you have to go through. Absolutely amazing. Now we left out the best part of this. What's the best part? Now, in trying to figure out what this is, outside moisture sensor, you can probably guess what this is. When it detects water drops on the window shield, guess what? This is a sensor. It detects water, moisture. It starts the pump and it starts the wiper. This is the ground. This is the voltage. Here's the voltage going into this sensor. It's a sensor. It needs a voltage and a ground. Then here's the signal from the sensor saying, oh boy, it's starting to rain. Close the windows in the car. The windshield has drops on it. It sends a signal to him. When he gets a signal, he gives a ground either for the washer, fluid pump, or for the wiper to wipe the rain. You don't even have to blink nowadays. Everything is automatic. Amazing, isn't it? So if you have usually a wiper or something, a washer pump in one speed but doesn't work in other speeds, at least you know that the motor is working. The speeds are not working. The other speeds are not working. Could be this, obviously, as a unit you change it, or it could be the module itself. You have to look what else is working. Is the wiper motor working? If the wiper motor is working, but this is not doing anything, obviously it's the switch. It's a complicated issue, but I just wanted to show to you the body control module. It gives a grounds to this. And I wanted to stress the point, no pins are mentioned here. You just have to use ingenuity, as they say, right? Let's look at all three of them. I did one. Let's make sure that you grasp that theory. Very important. Number 30 is which one over here? This one, correct? This is 30. Which one is 87? This one over here. Which one is 30 over here? This one is 30. This one is 30. Which one is 87? This one or this one? This is 87. The one that closes, the one that flips. What about here? What about this one? Same sequence, right? Let's look over here. 30 is here. 87A, 87. 87A becomes 87. So now this closes from here to here. So now, again, 30 to 87. That's the one that always pivots, that always toggles. Remember that. This is the only one. This toggles on the condition that this one has coil, has current flowing through it, has a magnetic field. It will toggle it. If this does not toggle, what's the first thing that should come to your mind? Am I activated? Is the coil activated? That's the first thing that should come to your mind. Do I have a magnetic field? If you have 12 volts over here and 0 volts over here, pretty much this is energized. Then I would go over here and say, do I have 12 volts over here? Right? You can't say that the fuse is bad because how did current flow here if the fuse was bad? This is feeding both. Okay? So the fact that this is working, has 12 volts and 0 volts, that means this fuse is good. So this should be 12 volts also, unless this connector over here, there's a connector, is broken. Or the terminal is not making contact. Anyway, I hope this was helpful, but I was asked to do a thing about wipers and switches and all that. Like I said, body control module is this, and about this, the rear window also, the switch. All these things have resistors in them. I made a video about the settings on your steering wheel, how to adjust, why they're adjustable, temperature and radio. You have many of those on the steering wheel now, so you can focus on your eyes on the road and not move your eyes to the console. I made a video about that. All resistors. The more resistors, the higher the resistor, the lower the voltage back to the computer. The higher the higher the resistance over here, right? The more resistors you go through, the less voltage will be left to go to the motor. That's the theory of it. Again, the whole thing has changed. So anyway, please go to my channel, Joe Electronic Schematics for Auto. I made a couple of videos. Remember, like I stressed the point, look at your voltage gauge. Very, very important. And I'm going to show you the voltage gauge. Okay, the video that I made was referring to this volts gauge. There was the dashboard has all these gauges in it: oil, temperature, fuel. I specifically made that video to show you this is your number one priority when you start that car, to pay attention to where that meter is measuring. That shows you the condition of the battery. Like I said, if you're starting out at 10.5 volts, you can still this still will be illuminated and it can still work. This instrument panel can still work at 11 volts, 10.5 volts. It'll still give you the reading of the battery. It's like putting a multimeter on the battery, but you're in the car. You don't have to get out of the car. You don't have to open the hood. That's why always pay attention. These are usually in SUVs, trucks, and all that. Some cars have them, but this is your number one help in life. If I have 10.5 volts instead of 12 volts, I'm in trouble already. If I have 12 volts and I went through all the conditions, if I have 12 volts here, right, that means I didn't leave the lights on, or I don't have a parasitic draw, because otherwise it wouldn't have been 12 volts to begin with. So if you're at 12 volts, then you have to think about, is it the computer? Is it the starter motor relay? Am I losing voltage from the starter motor relay to the solenoid? A lot of things, obviously, computerized and everything, no communications, so many things. But first thing is measure the voltage. If you have 10.5, time to get a boost. Try to boost it. Remember, side terminals, they have corrosion and they have rust. It is hard sometimes to get the booster cables on them. So be aware of those things. Always, this is your number one priority in life when you go start that car. Forget about the fuel, forget about the temperature, forget the oil. This is your lifesaver right there. Please go to that video that I just made. Please go to my channel. Thanks for monetizing me. It's a major achievement. I owe that to all the viewers. Like I said, I'll try to get to all the requests of the viewers as much as I can. There's a lot of requests, which is a great thing. Believe me, it is really, that means that the channel is starting to get exposure, I guess, to put it like that. But anyway, thanks for all the views. Thanks for monetizing me.